Hey, Brown Girl Banter.
Hi there, how are ya?
Hey, this is Dr. Lucretia.
And I'm Dr. Patience.
And today's topic is
Historically Black universities.
and predominantly white institutions. Why we chose this, and remember, this is our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we really wanted to address this because it really looks at, one, kind of gives you a background about me and Lucretia,
Mm-hmm.
like why
Yeah.
we, where we got our education,
Mm-hmm.
why we chose these particular institutions to get our education. And we have had this discussion before,
Mm-hmm.
but the funny part is now it's like coming up in the news.
In the news more and more.
Mostly based on athletes,
Mm-hmm.
but it kind of has hit on many things we've talked about over lunch or dinner or something like that. And so we felt it was really important for us to kind of have this conversation with you and kind of see, why you chose the institution that you went to and what your beliefs are. So as always, we always leave a comment, let us know your thoughts. We want to be a part of your conversation that you're having with your friends and family too. So.
Yeah.
So you want to start us off, Lucretia, about why you chose, where you went, and why you chose that university?
Okay, well, I went to the University of Memphis, but when I was there, it was called Memphis State. And some people probably would say, is that a predominantly white institution? Yes, it is. But my choice behind it was that a lot of my family members went to TSU. And it's not that, that I felt that their education was, subpar or anything like that. But I was like, I'm not going there because I heard stories about administration. And I was like, oh, no,
They're probably all true.
Yeah. I was like, no, I don't have time to be like going to register for class and then all my classes are missing or I have to stand in line for 3 days. I'm like, who does that? And I was like, no.
I did that.
I was like, I was like, no. And I remember my godmother, she was like, I cannot believe it that you are not going to she had me try, she was like, explain it to me.
Wow.
Explain why. And then I was like, so I used this, I was like, I want to go far away from home, but not too far.
That's everybody's answer.
It worked. It worked for her. It worked. And so I decided to go to Memphis State, University of Memphis, and it was a great experience. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, like one summer, I decided to, when I was home for the summer, I decided to go to TSU to take an accounting class because at that time my major was accounting.
Okay.
But I decided also to take a Black American literature class. Mm-hmm. And because I'm a reader, but I'm going to tell you, that class changed my life. I got to see literature from a whole different perspective. And Dr. Houston was my teacher. Now, ask me any of my teachers that I had at the University of Memphis. I couldn't tell you who they were, what they were doing. But I remember Dr. Houston, she had such an impact on my life because she changed the way that I saw literature.
That's amazing.
So that was my experience of going to the University of Memphis. And then for my master's, I went to Trevecca. Trevecca chose me, I would say, because I was not even thinking about going to get my master's in counseling. But I found their program, and because someone mentioned it, and I decided to go. And then, as we met at Argosy, which I don't know what you could call Argosy University.
A melting pot.
Right, a melting.
That's what you can call it.
Yeah. So that's been my journey from education and choosing why I went to PWI.
Okay, so don't judge me right now, but I'm trying to think, did I know you went to Trevecca?
Evidently you didn't.
I feel like a bad friend.
If you question it.
I know. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a bad friend. I'm like, why did I not think you went to Trevecca for your master's? Oh, interesting. How was that experience?
That experience was different, but I will say, even though you may look at Trevecca and say, was there a lot, and especially at that time, even coming into the counseling profession, was there a lot of people of color in the program? And if I think about it, yes, I was not the only one.
Okay.
But now I didn't see any teachers that professors that looked like me, but I was not the only person of color in the classroom. So it was probably about 6 of us, I think, if I was to count it, that were all in the program, and we graduated together. So yeah, but the experience was different because I was really looking, to be honest, I was looking for a program that was that had a Christian base, even though it didn't have a Christian base. if you think about it. Now, I wanted it because it was about my, it was about my faith, because I knew coming into the profession, it was really about my purpose and my faith. So I was like, oh, I want to go to a school, that has a religious lens. But then once I got into the program, they taught it really from a more secular lens. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's interesting. Fun fact. See, we learn about each other as we have these conversations.
Yes.
I might have known that, but it's probably somewhere far, far in the back of my brain.
And I may not mention it often.
Maybe that could be it too. There you go. So I went to Tennessee State University. So that was a journey within itself. So when as you know, we've probably said in previous episodes, I'm from Detroit, Michigan, born in Atlanta, Georgia, raised in Detroit, Michigan. And so went to Renaissance High School, which is a college preparatory school. And so I can vividly remember senior year. Like everyone is like trying to decide where they're going, right? It's just all these things. My best friend, he was going to Duke to play football. Him and another really good friend of mine. Future husband, he was trying to decide what he was going to do with his life. And like my girlfriends, like I remember Michigan State and U of M had come up there, and they were doing like on the spot application interviews, like boom, boom at our school. And I remember like everyone getting ready and me just feeling lost, because I was like, no, I'm not going to do that today. Not applying. Don't want to go to those, right? And I remember my first year was like, you're not applying. You're not going to go to the on the spot. I was like, no, I know. And I knew that I wanted to go. But let me say this. I don't know if I can say I wanted to go to a HBCU. I knew that I wanted to get out my mama's house and leave Detroit. So, like, I don't know. That could have taken me anywhere.
And Detroit, Nashville.
I mean, dude. So I remember, but I have an oldest sister that went to Grambling. I have an older sister that went to Clark Atlanta, and then my brother went to the University of New Mexico to play football. And that's another story. Athletes, And so I remember very clearly, my mom's like, "Well, we're gonna go apply." So I applied only to Black universities, and so we went. I didn't do the college tour because I had a lot of friends who weren't going to HBCUs deciding to do the college tour. And I never went. Did you do the college tour?
No, I did not.
I didn't do the Black college tour. So we did our own.
Kind of would have changed my perspective. I kind of would have known about some other schools.
Possibly could have.
Could have changed my perspective.
So we did that, and my mom kind of like took us on our own little tour. So I did Southern, Clark, North Carolina A&T, and Tennessee State University. Those were the four schools I visited. And so while I fell in love with North Carolina A&T, like I knew that school had a place for me. Don't ask me about majors or minors. I just knew that felt like home when I walked on that campus, right? And let's be honest, Detroit was a predominantly African American, the city, and so it's not that was lacking, but I knew that I wanted to be somewhere where I was getting my education from instructors that looked like me and from a different perspective, right? And so that was important to me, and because I had visited my sister on her campuses, and I'm like, Clark, this is lovely. Homecoming, you got Spelman, you got Morehouse, you got, all these schools right there. So when I had told my mom, like, North Carolina A&T, let's do it. I'm accepted, let's go. She was like, no. You're going to go to Tennessee State University. It's closer to home.
She made the choice
She made it for me. And so while you're saying schools chose you, no. My mama chose my school, And so I went there, and she felt it was closer. I was the youngest. I was kind of a rebel. I think she was kind of like,
I can see that in your spirit.
You can't go too far, because I got to
be able to get to you.
Snatch you up if I need
you
to.
get down ahead.
Exactly. So went to TSU, and when I say that experience literally changed my life, like I will never forget just hearing, I feel like this. I felt like during that season, I was learning about life, and I was learning about business, and I was a communications major, so I was learning about production, I was learning about art and lit, and I was learning about it from a totally different perspective that I had learned over my however many years I had been in school, right? Like, it was just about, a lot of times people like to say, well, you go to a Black university and you're not gonna know how to operate and function in the real world.
Or the question is always like, will a recruiter look at your resume after they see where you went to school?
Exactly. And I can tell you, just like you might have been learning, chemistry and learning, about production and learning about, public speaking. Oh, I was learning that too.
Yeah.
But I was also learning how to have an identity and a sense of self and a sense of purpose and a sense of pride. And I was getting all of those things added onto, the everyday understanding of these concepts. And so it was like, you might walk into the room and be the only African American at the table. This is how you manage that, right? I mean, like, how empowering is that, right? Like, I have been learning about how to adapt my whole life, right?
Yes. Okay.
And now here I am in this scenario where I'm not having to learn how to adapt from your perspective, right? I'm getting to learn how to adapt from my racist perspective, right? And from their experiences. And I mean, when I say, besides the fact that the yard was lit and the DJ was there every Friday and, all the sorority and fraternities helped to make it a very fun place to learn. I mean, it was also these opportunities to meet and engage with so many different type of, Black people. Yeah. I mean, it was so empowering. And I think if I hadn't really taken that experience, I wouldn't be the person I am today, Yeah. So that's kind of why I chose, my mama chose Tennessee State University for me, but I wouldn't change that for anything. But I think the interesting part about all of that, right, we have these conversations about, PWIs and HBCUs and employment and, functioning in society.
Identity.
And then Beyonce does Homecoming. Girl.
Because of the impact that she saw.
How life-changing was that? And then, oh man, not that we were on the radar before. Like, I'm just saying, it goes in waves, right?
Yeah,
but man, Beyonce did that Homecoming, and that just streamed like, turn it on, mommy.
That brought HBCUs to a different light.
It did. I mean, Instagram, Facebook. Questions about, where did you go? What was it like? Experiences, and it captured a new generation, which is super amazing. I think there's some value to that. So, I think that's important.
And I'll tell you, I have a friend. She's an educator in the school system, and some of the students, they had never heard of a HBCU. Before homecoming, they didn't know a lot about it. So what she did was she decided to every Friday she would wear a shirt that represented HBCU, so that they would know, because a lot of these students they don't have a lot of exposure outside of their community. So when she came in with one of the t-shirts, they like, what is that?
Yeah.
But she made it into their assignment where they had to learn about the different schools, which will help them to make a better, I won't say a better informed decision about where they decide to go to school. And it's giving them purpose and giving them hope to go outside of community or even to further their education.
That's amazing, because, it makes me think about, I grew up in the era of, Bill Cosby wearing his sweaters and sweatshirts for different universities. I grew up in, what was that, a different world area. I wanted to meet Whitley and,
you want to go to Hillman.
Right. I was the one who grew up around school days, which my mama probably shouldn't have let me watch that movie at the age I was. But anyway, I digress. But, so that to me was oh my gosh, I have to go to experience that. And so it's so interesting that I think about my kids or my nieces and nephews who won't have those kind of images placed in front of them.
No, because things have changed.
Yeah, shows don't really represent that. It is super cool though that now, you will every once in a while catch Diddy or some celebrity or entertainer kind of rocking some kind of university HBCU to kind of show some support. But I grew up in that era, so to hear somebody say I don't know about what a HBCU is, it's like, how in the world?
Yeah, but kids don't get exposed to it. And if you think about it, on television, probably Blackish is probably one of the shows that brings it to the forefront, because they teach different episodes. Because I remember when the son decided that he was going to Howard.
That was a great
and
episode.
It was the whole process of that, the daughter choosing to go where she decided to go. So just being able to see that whole decision making process play out on in society and on our media.
And on This Is Us. Remember when Randall
Oh, yes.
was young and he was trying to decide where to go, and he went on always Howard's campus.
Yeah.
Which I have been to a Howard homecoming, so I kind of get it. But always Howard's campus.
Yeah. But even if I think about it, I was thinking about the book we're reading for book club.
Oh yeah, what's that?
The Between Us and the World. I think
the World and Me.
Something like that. Okay,
we'll tag it.
Yeah. But he talks about his experience of going to Howard and seeing how, like, some of the things that you talk about is like the people on the yard, how the melting pot of different people show up. And he discussed that in the book. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And I was like, oh, how fitting for the discussion that we're about to have.
Exactly. So, yeah. And you know, a lot of my friends, and I'll ask you about this because I never really understand this. So don't try to beat me up in this comment section about this statement. Okay. So I have quite a few friends who went to PWIs, and so that sounds so bad when you say it.
Right.
But they went there.
HBCU and PWI.
And so I always would chuckle because they would always have events and, you know, whatever, and all they did was hang around with black people. Like, all they did. Like, you went to the school, but you only your dorm is you black.
You look, but we know that's part of human nature. That we're looking for people that look like us so that we can connect.
Right. So that's always so interesting to me.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, I just went to a school where I connected, like, they were all there. And so my friends would be like, oh, come to this event. It's kind of this, you know, event the black people hold. I'm like, okay, you know, like, it's so interesting to me.
Yeah, but it
you know, and so you're saying that that's more based in comfortable,
because
you know, making a community.
Because you're looking for people that look like you, so you tend to connect. And see, with me going to the University of Memphis, getting there, I connected with people that were in inroads because I was in inroads, and so those people, I knew they were going to be on campus, so I looked for them. But then, like, in my, like, I don't know if they set it up like that with Residence Hall. All of my roommates that I didn't select until later, but they were black. People on my hall. Maybe my hall was black and I didn't. As I think about it.
They didn't tell y'all, but y'all was the black.
We were in the black.
They couldn't say it, but they just put y'all all on the floor.
I think about Smith Hall.
Yeah, that was that. That's what that was.
That was that.
They just didn't tell y'all.
They just didn't tell us. So yeah, but so we made friendships and connections, and then when you see fraternities and sororities made up of people like you, because I think I thought about pledging, but it wasn't like something that I knew I had to do when I went, when I was going away to college. But when I got there and I got on campus, and it's the difference. We said got on campus, y'all said on the yard.
We say on the yard. Yes, we do.
That's another conversation.
You're like, what is the yard?
We say campus. But just seeing the Deltas, they, like, I was invited to an event and I was like, and they had my favorite girl, Susan Taylor, Essence magazine. I was like, oh, Susan Taylor coming on campus.
That for me.
I'm going.
Yes.
And just being in a room of women that were about business, that were going somewhere on campus, I was like, oh, this is where I want to be. And then that's how I joined, became a member of my beloved sorority, Delta Sigma Theta.
She reps all
Incorporated.
the time. She reps all the time.
And so, but just being able to see that, but yeah, I think it's part of human nature. Like, when you walk in the room, you're looking for somebody, especially when you're so used to being in a room where you are probably one of the few, that you walk in the room looking for someone that looks like you, to have some form of connection. Because I still have that now. When I go to events, I was telling you, I went to an event last week, and it was for therapists. But when I walked in the room, I was checking for someone that looked like me, and the only person there was actually another therapist, and she was the facilitator.
Wow.
And then I did it at a luncheon. I was waiting, looking for other people that look like. So I know for me, it's about looking for people that look that look similar to me, so that I like, oh, okay, I'm not in the room alone. So, but I guess that's why we
connect to each other.
Why we connect to each other on campus. Okay. I guess, so you have somebody to talk to.
I guess so. And it's so funny because they're like, oh, come to this event. And then I go to the event like, I have this every Friday. Okay. Yeah. Sure. You're excited about this, but this is a Friday for me.
Yeah.
But you go ahead and let's go and let's do this. Yeah. So, and I think there's just the beauty of it, because I feel like as society has changed, like with the athletes and kind of like Jamel Hill and, people are saying, athletes, go to these HBCUs. This will solve the problem where they're making billions of dollars off of your athleticism.
Off of your skill.
Yes. Well, take that to the HBCU and, empower those, because let's be honest, HBCUs were first created because Black people couldn't get education in white universities. Right. And so we had to, we're going to find a way to make one. Yeah. So we segregate, we start allowing this, or desegregate, and allow these things to happen, but then our universities kind of, lose their reputation, right? Even though they have produced some amazing
people,
successful people. And so I always laugh. They're like, oh, you're going to have this degree from Tennessee State, or you're going to have this degree from Fisk, or you're going to have this degree from North Carolina A&T or Clark or wherever. And are you going to be able to get a job? But, let me tell you about all my friends who go to these type of universities. Oh, I have doctor friends, and I have, lawyer friends, and I have journalist friends, and I have acting friends. So really that was, I don't know, a false belief, that was implanted, I feel like, in our community to be true. And like, I don't know if that is even relevant anymore. And, my husband talks about that a lot. He's like, my mom and dad never pushed me to, his sister went to Hampton, but he is an athlete, so he had to go where he thought he was going to be able to, that whole.
Because they're looking for that, because especially with athletes, they're looking for those big 10, what is the Big 10? I think that's,
shamefully,
I think that's it. The Big 10, like they're looking for opportunities to go there because there's like those are some of those schools, the ones that's going to produce you if you decide that you want to go to the pro. But I guess we could also look at it as like how many individuals get drafted from HBCUs that go on later to be able to be professional athletes. How does that wash?
Right. And it probably isn't great because all our, amazing athletes, feel they get, they
get the scholarship. They have the backing, the support. Yeah.
And so it's really difficult. And so, but he says, man, I mean, as now as this professional in a predominantly white field, he's kind of like, man, what if that would have been like to go to a university with people who look like me, talk like me, teaching me from that perspective. And so, it makes me think about my kids. It makes me think about like, what are they going to do? What decisions are they going to make?
And how can you help to continue to like form that, but help them to make their own decisions?
And that's important to me. So I think that, as we kind of continue to have this discussion, it's kind of like, where do, what's best for you? We always do what's best for you, what's best for your family, what's, where you feel that you will have the most impact. And I think that's important, but I also feel like there is something valuable, okay, so as a therapist, identity and sense of self.
Well, yes, it's so important.
That's my niche. I will always come to that. And, I believe that, especially now, I like to call my family Blackish because I feel like, we're in the burbs and we, are, usually, one of 2 or 3, African American families in the community. Yeah. And so, how can I ensure that my girls get this identity and understand that their Black is beautiful, and how do I help them to understand, yes, you can wear your hair 50,000 ways, and that is what makes you cool, and so, the beauty of that, and that, there's so many different types of Black people in the world, Black people speaking French and Spanish and all of these type of things.
This is diversity.
There is so much diversity within the race, and I want to ensure, of course, part of that is my responsibility as a parent, but I also want her to leave and get those experiences from somewhere else and from a university. But again, I'm not going to force her to do that. I mean,
you're not going to choose it for her?
I might nudge her a little bit, but I don't
choose it for her?
I mean, tempted to, and she's super young, so I have so much time in the world. But, I think that there is value in identity, right? Like,
it is. It's so important. Because that's important.
It is.
Because if we think about it, even if we look at historical trauma and different things like that, something that has been stripped away from us is our cultural identity and practices. So having to fit inside a box or a world that is, that caters to a predominantly white society,
Exactly.
even though the browning of America is showing up every day. And so being able to bring those practices back and showing up in that space.
I agree. So I think that, you got to do what's best for you, but I'm always going, if you tell me you're going to a HBCU, I am going to pump you all the way. Like, I'm going to be your hype man. You're going to be like, calm down. And I'll be like, no, we hype, So, that's just important to me because I feel like there is value in it. I'm not saying there's not value at PWI, so please don't take me as that. Take it as that.
It's valuable, but I also think about, even for myself, even when I think about my own identity, it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, am I black enough? Because I didn't have that experience, learning different things about our history that you may have, because sometimes when people have conversations, I'm like, well, who is that in history? And I have to go back and look, but I keep myself informed to understand those things. But see, for me, my high school was predominantly white, but we had and so these things for me are like probably were my norm.
Yeah. I get that.
So me choosing to go to the University of Memphis versus TSU wasn't because TSU was a HBCU and I was thinking about my future. Really, I was thinking about how can I go far enough away from home, but not too far, that just in case my parents needed to come get me or I needed to get back home, I could get back home in a shorter amount of time. So it served, for me, it served me well. Yeah.
So, side note, before we end our little episode, 2 things.
Okay.
First thing, that administration line is crazy. Really, we got to do better. I'm just telling the truth. I said it builds character, which it does. My name might be Patience, and it was already in me, but my God, it definitely builds character and nothing else. You really must want to go to this university because you are willing to do this, to stand in these lines.
These hoops.
Oh my gosh!
And it wasn't that my administration process was that easy. But it probably would. I didn't have to stay for 2 or 3 days. Couple of hours.
It is. It's traumatic. I'm not gonna lie. It's small trauma. The second thing, what you said, and I definitely feel like another episode. Am I black enough? I just had this conversation with somebody, and so just looking at that from, like you said, a university perspective, but just like, oh my gosh, sense of self, sense of purpose,
acceptance amongst people that look like you.
So y'all listen out for that. That one is amazing. We have to touch on that.
We'll talk about that.
Love it. Well, I feel like we've kind of talked about our opinions and our thoughts when it comes to HBCUs and PWIs. Again, thank you so much. We're so glad to share this with you. Please follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Brown Girl Banter. You can follow Lucretia on Instagram as
I am Dr. Dangerfield.
And you can follow me on Instagram as I am Dr. Patience. And of course, our Instagram page is Brown Girl.
I am Brown Girl Banter.
See, that's why I have her. When I'm slipping,
Brown Girl Banter.
She takes over. Necessary. So again, thanks so much. You all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.